What is up, everyone? It is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. From the title of this video today, I'm going to be talking about my experience with the LSAT and some tips on how I was able to raise my LSAT score. So if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Rachel. I graduated from UC Berkeley in the class of 2020, where I double majored in cognitive science and legal studies, and I currently work as a paralegal in environmental law litigation. And I don't know, I was sort of like, on making this video because I'm like, okay, 169, that is a great score. That is in the 95th percentile for LSAT scorers. But then I'm also like, dang, it's not a 170, so close. Literally, if I got like 2 or 3 more questions right, I could be in the low 170s. But maybe that is human nature, thinking of the what ifs, oh, I could have done better. So I can't be thinking these negative thoughts, self-doubt, anything like that. So that is why I wanted to create this video today. If you've been around my channel for the past couple of years, then you would know this is actually my 3rd time taking the LSAT. I took it once in 2019, once in 2020, and then for the 3rd time here in June 2023. And fun fact, I've actually taken 3 different kinds of LSATs. So the first time in 2019, it was actually supposed to be the first iteration of the tablet version of the LSAT. They notified us the night before, literally like 5 p.m., saying, hey, this test center doesn't have enough tablets. We need to postpone your LSAT and you'll be taking it on pen and paper. So that was pretty wild. So the 5-section pen and paper LSAT. Then for my second time taking it, it was during the pandemic, so that was when they were doing the LSAT Flex, so only 3 sections of the test, and it was all online at your house via ProctorU. And then this most recent version in June 2023, it was the 4-section test, so 3 scored, 1 experimental, similarly online via ProctorU. Now for the upcoming administration, you have the choice of doing it proctored or at an in-person test center, but I think it's pretty funny taking the LSAT 3 times, 3 different kinds of tests here, but nonetheless being able to raise my score and learning, okay, what has worked, what didn't work from these different tests that I've taken. How can I improve my score for this June test? So going into my advice on some general tips on how I was able to raise my LSAT score, I think this advice is very versatile. Anyone studying for the LSAT can implement this kind of general advice. If you had more specific questions that you would want me to talk about, then I could make a different video on that. So my first tip would be to read. I feel like a lot of people say this. They're like, oh, read the New York Times. Read these really, really dense articles. I would say yes, I agree with this advice. For me, a major thing that changed between the first and second time and now this 3rd time taking the LSAT was that I started reading in my free time. So like a lot of people in the pandemic, I started reading books again, fiction, nonfiction novels. Prior to that, I didn't really read for fun or leisure since like being a child, because once you're in high school and college, you really don't have much free time to be able to read leisurely, read books that you'd want to read. So during the pandemic, I really got into that again, and I do think reading for fun helped me on the reading comprehension section of the test, because I was used to, sitting down, reading long books or long form articles, and then being able to decipher the information quickly and in a way that lets your brain process it. Compared to when I first took the LSAT, I was really only reading for classwork, homework, and then reading feels like a chore, so then going into the LSAT, I feel like reading comp also felt like a chore because you're reading these really dense, short pieces of work. Similarly with reading, at my new job working in environmental law litigation, I'm proofreading and cite checking briefs that the attorneys are filing with the court. These briefs, I feel like, were very similar to the denseness of the RC section of the LSAT. So I feel like reading this kind of work would be similar to the advice of, okay, read the New York Times. That would help you with the RC section of the LSAT, and I definitely feel like reading for fun, reading for work here, and that kind of similar law, science kind of article did help me with the RC portion of the test. My next tip, this one might be a little bit harder to put into words, I feel like, but I do feel like from working out, going to lift at the gym, and going to the climbing gym, I have become mentally stronger during this time that I was studying for the LSAT this year. I feel like from working out and from my gym experiences, I am able to push my body, I guess be more confident in what I'm capable of physically and mentally. Similarly with the gym, more like intuition, okay, trusting myself, can I make this move? Can I lift this weight? Which I feel like for me translated well to the LSAT. When I was flagging questions, I was able to really hone that intuition of okay, I don't think I'm getting this question right the first time around. Let me flag it so at the end of the section, if I have time, this is one that I want to come back to. When I was doing practice tests, I often found that I was able to flag the questions that I was getting wrong the first time, and if I had enough time, I could go back and change it to the right answer, or maybe I still changed it to a wrong answer. But then after the practice exam, when reviewing my answers, I was really able to see, okay, my intuition was right. I wasn't feeling this question, so I flagged it, and my flag was correct on this. I wasn't just flagging things randomly, flagging a lot of questions that I got right the first time, but I was legitimately flagging the questions that I had wrong. And maybe, like they say, correlation doesn't equal causation. However, I do feel like from going to the gym and knowing and trusting myself and what I am capable of really helped me know and trust myself in a different setting, in the test setting. Similar to going to the gym, I do think warming up your brain before you take the practice test, before you take the real test, is something you should do. Like at the gym, you are going to warm up. You're not just going to hop in and do your max bench or max squat without warming up your body. I think very, very similar for your brain. You should do some practice problems as a warm-up before you simulate the real test day situation. And before my second LSAT, I did do warm-up problems as well, so maybe I guess I honed the warm-up before this third time taking the test. For warm-up, I would typically do 5 LR questions and then 1 reading comp passage. Like I mentioned in my Q&A video, for me, logic games came very, very naturally, so I didn't necessarily warm those up compared to LR and reading comp. So for the logical reasoning 5 questions, I would just pick a category that maybe I was focusing on the day before, maybe that I had some trouble with in my last practice test. I would do 5 questions, sort of like easy, medium difficulty for that. And then for the reading comp passage, I would do like an easy RC passage. Something you can get your brain juices flowing, but something that isn't going to psych you out too much because you're picking okay, the most difficult questions to warm up with. So I would typically do easy, medium level questions as my warm-up. And I think this is helpful because if I wasn't warming up and just jumping into a full-length section or a full-length test, then I felt okay, the first 5 or 10 minutes, I'm stumbling because I'm taking that time to get used to the test again, rather than taking that time on my own time prior to the real test. Next tip, a big change from my first 2 times taking the test to the 3rd time taking the LSAT was that this time I started a wrong answer bank. I have an entirely separate YouTube video talking about my wrong answer bank, how I formatted it, and everything like that, so I'll have that video linked down below. But I do think for this third time taking the LSAT, the wrong answer bank was very, very helpful. I was really able to track my logical reasoning questions, like, okay, what am I getting wrong? Why am I getting it wrong? Am I consistently getting certain questions wrong each time? And then in my free time, going through those wrong answer bank questions again to see, okay, am I still tripped up? Am I going to get this question right this time? Or am I still getting the question wrong? So I do think for logical reasoning, that wrong answer bank is helpful so you can start to see patterns in the questions that you're getting wrong. Is it a specific question stem that always trips you up? Are you continuously falling for the same trap answers each time, no matter the question stem? I do think the wrong answer bank is very, very helpful. So yeah, these are some general tips on how I think I was able to raise my LSAT score to a 169. If you have any other LSAT videos that you want to see me do or any questions, definitely leave a comment below. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.